Okay, so I will send syllabus the syllabus in the group itself. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
okay, ma'am.
And do you have high secondary books? Anyone high secondary? Oh, you are. I guess you are HSLC passed. No, 10 passed. No, all of you.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, then you won't have your high secondary books. I guess I'll send you the ebooks. Ebooks, you know, soft copies. No, I'll send you the ebooks of the book that you have to follow.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, and I will also provide notes, but then I'll complete the chapter and then I'll give notes. Okay, before that,
Okay,
whenever
ma'am.
whatever I teach, just note it down in a copy. Whatever I
Okay,
teach,
ma'am.
I'll just be explaining. So you just note it down, whatever that is you think is important. Note it down. And the
Okay.
notes I'll give after I finish this chapter.
Okay.
And everyone just drop your enrollment number in the chat box. Okay, I can give you attendance from there. Enrollment number in the chat
I
box.
get. I given you already, ma'am.
Okay, okay, it's okay. Once only. Give it one time. Don't give it like
Oh,
multiple times. Only once.
yeah.
O-
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, we have to write full enrollment number or the last three digits.
You can give anything. Anything last two digits will do. Okay. Today we will start with this chapter, that is making an exchange of gases. Okay. And if you don't understand, just ask. Okay. Whenever I teach and you don't understand a point, just ask. Okay. Or you can just, if you don't want to speak, someone can give the in the chat box. I'll check after I finish this one. If you don't understand anything. So this chapter is known as breathing and exchange of gases. So this chapter, normally when we discuss this, we refer to it as the respiratory system. Everyone has heard of respiratory system, I guess. So this chapter,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, this chapter when we refer to it, we call it as respiratory system. So I will just start a little portion today, since it's the first class. So respiration, everyone knows what is respiration. Or do you know breathing? What is breathing? Means we take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide, right? So that process
Yes.
is known as breathing. We inhale oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. Though that it is the means simply if we want to say in like normal language, is not scientific language, we will say that give in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. That is known as breathing. But breathing and respiration, they are two different, means there is a slight uh, what to say difference between breathing and respiration. Breathing is I already told, that is taking in oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide. But respiration, it is a little bit complex than breathing. Okay, so respiration, it means breaking down of respiratory fuel to obtain energy. What do you mean by respiratory fuel? Fuel, you all know. In the cars, for example, in the cars you use petrol, diesel, right? So that serves as fuel, right? In the cars and bikes and everywhere, you put fuel, that is what to say, petrol or uh, diesel, whatever. Some and for like cooking food, the gas. So that gas is the fuel. So in every thing there is a fuel, right? So in our living body also, in the human body also, there is a fuel which is known as the respiratory fuel. And the respiratory fuel is nothing that, other than it is glucose. Okay, the respiratory fuel in our body is glucose. Glucose, all of you know. Uh,
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
all of you used to take glucon D's and all, right? So that is
Yes.
main composition of glucon D is sugar, and that is glucose. So glucose, the respiratory fuel, it is the glucose. So what happens? Respiration, it means that breaking down of that glucose. Okay, and in turn, what happens when glucose is broken down? It gives energy to our body. Suppose, for example, you are walking. You need energy to walk also, right? You need energy to walk. You need energy to sit. You need energy to do every means action in your day to day life. Everything in your day to day life. Every means in order to survive also you need energy. So all those energy where do we get from? So all those energy we get from the respiration. Excuse me. So respiration, it means the breaking down of that glucose to produce energy. Breathing, it means taking in of oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide, whereas respiration, it means breaking down of that respiratory fuel, or in our case, it is glucose. Okay, so there are two types of respiration. Okay, you have got this in your school, I guess. These topics, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. The school level only it is there. So, if you recall it, there are two types of respiration. One is aerobic respiration, one is anaerobic respiration. So, these types are made on the basis of the presence or absence of oxygen. So, what happens in aerobic respiration? This one, aerobic respiration. So, in aerobic respiration, it takes place in the presence of oxygen. Okay, aerobic respiration, it takes place in the presence of oxygen. But anaerobic respiration, it takes place in the absence of oxygen. It doesn't need oxygen. It's the most main difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, one is aerobic respiration. It needs oxygen. It can take place only in the presence of oxygen. Aerobic, and anaerobic, it takes place in the absence of oxygen. That is the main difference between these two types of respiration. Okay,
Yes.
so we will now look at aerobic respiration. So, as I already mentioned, aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, and it is these are these steps you have seen, like 5 steps. So these are the steps uh, of aerobic respiration. Means in, this is the main reaction. This is the main reaction. Intermediate, these steps are there. Okay, main reaction is
Yes.
this. Means starting, this will be glucose. This is the formula for glucose. Okay, C6H12O6. This is the formula for glucose. Please write down this reaction. Okay, so this is the formula for glucose, C6H12O6. So this glucose, this is the first glucose, right? And then last, whatever is formed in the last, after the end of the fifth step. Okay, so intermediate, in between, these steps are also included. So basically, aerobic respiration, it involves oxygen, and it can take place in the presence of oxygen. So what happens? Main process is that first, this glucose inside our body, what happens? This glucose will react with oxygen. O2, this is oxygen. So glucose will react with oxygen and will form and will break down. When I have already mentioned, right, glucose breaks down to form energy. So what happens? This glucose will react in the presence of oxygen and will break down. Glucose will react with oxygen and will break down and form carbon dioxide, water, and energy. This is the most important part. Okay, energy is formed. So you have seen down here, this glucose is broken down, right, to form energy. So glucose, when it breaks down, it forms energy, and this energy is what is required in our body. So there are many steps. This you can write down the steps. No need to go in depth. Just you can write down the steps. Uh, First step, that is glycolysis. In glycolysis, what happens? First step in aerobic respiration is glycolysis. In glycolysis, what happens? This glucose, C6H12O6, glucose is broken down into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid, you can write down PA is pyruvic acid. Okay, PYRUVIC, pyruvic acid, ACID. PYRUVIC, pyruvic acid. acid acid. So you can write in short Pa. 2 is the 2 in order to balance this. That's why it is 2. So glucose is broken down into pyruvic acid first in glycolysis. That happens. Actually, glycolysis is a long process. Okay, I'm just writing the main step. Is whatever is formed. Also, in between there are several other steps. You will learn all this in a new what to say new paper in the second or third sem. You'll get a paper known as biochemistry. So you will get all this glycolysis, this reaction. You will get in details in that subject. Now for now you don't need to go in that so much detail. Just learning about only the names will be enough. So next is link reaction. Link reaction, what happens? This two pyruvic acid, this pyruvic acid, so this pyruvic acid will be converted into acetyl coenzyme A. This is coenzyme A, COENZYME, coenzyme A. You can write it as COA. Okay. So in link reaction, next step is link reaction. What happens? This first glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. Now this pyruvic acid will come here. This pyruvic acid will be converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Next is Krebs cycle. So in Krebs cycle, what happens? This acetyl coenzyme A again comes and it will be converted into carbon dioxide. Next, there is electron transport chain and there is oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so these are the steps. I'm just means these are not that much important. Okay, for now. Afterwards, it will be important for the next semesters. But for now, just learn the names. Just learn the names, and you learn this reaction. This reaction is important. Learn this reaction and learn the names of the steps. Okay, that will do for this semester. Okay, so I will go through once again. The main important thing about aerobic respiration that you need to remember is that aerobic respiration, it takes place in the presence of oxygen. Okay, and one more important thing, aerobic respiration, it uh, uh, takes place only in the multicellular organisms. What do you mean by multicellular organisms? What are multicellular organisms?
Organisms which has more than one cell.
Yes, more than one cell. And unicellular means it's single cell. So aerobic respiration, remember aerobic respiration takes place only in multicellular organisms. Okay, which means in human beings, aerobic respiration will take place. Okay, in every means multicellular organisms, aerobic respiration will take place. Multicellular organisms, or you can say is eukaryotes. Okay, eukaryotes. In eukaryotes, aerobic respiration will take place. Okay. Then the second important thing is that aerobic respiration, it takes place in the uh, mitochondria. Okay. Mitochondria, all of you know mitochondria. What is mitochondria? Mitochondria is a cell organelle. It is the powerhouse of cell, right? So it is a cell organelle. Cell organelle means whatever that is present inside of a cell. The cell is there, so whatever is present inside of a cell, so those are known as cell organelles. So mitochondria is a type of cell organelles, and it is the what to say powerhouse of the cell. It is known as the powerhouse of the cell, right? So why it is known as powerhouse of cell? Now you will understand why it is from like in the school onwards we have heard mitochondria. What is mitochondria? Mitochondria is the powerhouse of cell. So why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of cell? I'll tell you. Okay, so mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of cell because power means energy. Okay, in this case, power means energy. So what happens? Since I have already mentioned, respiration, it gives energy, right? In respiration, main thing what happens? Glucose is broken into form into energy, right? So this aerobic respiration also this glucose, right? Glucose is broken down to energy. So energy, this is the power. And I have now mentioned that aerobic respiration takes place in the mitochondria. Okay, since aerobic respiration takes place in the mitochondria, then energy will be formed in the mitochondria. Am I making sense? Since aerobic respiration takes place in the mitochondria, then energy will also be formed in the mitochondria. That's why energy is formed in mitochondria and energy is stored in the mitochondria. And therefore, mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of a cell. Okay. Uh, okay. So, but there is an exclusion. This glycolysis, no, this first step takes place in the cytoplasm. But other than all the steps takes place in the mitochondria. uh, in the if it is asked like where does aerobic respiration takes place, you can write either mitochondria or you can choose to write cytoplasm and mitochondria. Both are correct. Okay, because majority of the portion everything is it takes place in the mitochondria only. Only the this first step, that is glycolysis, it takes place in the cytoplasm. Okay, other every other four steps it takes place in the mitochondria. Okay, so if it is asked where does aerobic respiration takes place, you can write mitochondria or you can write mitochondria and cytoplasm. Both are correct. So, okay. So now comes next thing comes to energy. Okay. So the amount of energy. What is the amount of energy formed during aerobic respiration? So in aerobic respiration, what happens? The amount of energy formed is very high. High amount of energy is formed. The total number of ATP formed during aerobic respiration is 38 ATP. Okay, then 2 ATP, 38 initially 38 ATP was formed. Okay, 38 ATP. What is ATP? ATP. What is ATP? Can anyone tell? Huh? Yes. Yes, it is correct. Say. Okay, for those who doesn't know, ATP means adenosine triphosphate. You can write it down. ADENOSINE, adenosine triphosphate. ADENOSINE, adenosine triphosphate. TRI, triphosphate. PHOSPHATE, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so what is adenosine triphosphate? Adenosine triphosphate is an energy storing molecule. Okay, energy storing molecule means this मौसम से क्या, don't try to share content. Okay, you're trying to share, I guess you're clicking somewhere else. Okay, so ATP, it is an energy storing molecule. Just remember the full term of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So this ATP is an energy storing molecule. Means this energy, we have all now talked so much about this energy, right? Respiration gives energy, and in aerobic respiration also glucose it gives energy. So this energy will be stored in the form of ATP. Okay, so this energy it will be stored in the form of ATP in the mitochondria in the case of aerobic respiration. Okay, so initially they 30 in this whole process 38 ATP molecules are formed. This is the quantity of the ATP molecules. Okay, 38. But what happens in this all these five steps? No, two ATPs are used up because what happens to in order to form this reaction also energy is required, right? So therefore two energy is taken up. So at the end, finally, initially there were 33, 38, but the steps took two molecules. So 38 minus 2, it will be 36. So the total number of, if you are asked how many ATP molecules are formed during aerobic respiration, you have to write 36 ATP molecules. Okay, 36 ATP molecules. So here this energy it is 36 ATP. Initially it was 38, but then two are used up. Now the final product is 36. So about aerobic respiration, what all you have learned? First is it takes place in the presence of oxygen, right? First point is it takes place in the presence of oxygen. Second point is it takes place in multicellular organisms or in eukaryotes. Eukaryotes. Eukaryotes and prokaryotes all you know, I guess. So uh, it takes place in the eukaryotes or in the multicellular organisms. Okay. Second, third is that it takes place in the mitochondria. Aerobic respiration it takes place in the mitochondria, and it is and then the next is that aerobic respiration it produces 36 ATP molecules. Okay, examples you can give uh, of occurring in humans, cat, everywhere, everything, every means multicellular organism, cat, dogs, and everything. Okay, so this is all about aerobic respiration. Next, at anaerobic respiration. Okay, so anaerobic respiration we have already seen it is the complete opposite of aerobic respiration. Okay, so aerobic respiration it takes place in the presence of oxygen, right? But anaerobic respiration it takes place in the absence of oxygen. See, I have already mentioned anaerobic respiration it takes place in the absence of oxygen. First thing, and second is that we have seen in aerobic respiration it is a long process, and relatively this is a fast process. Anaerobic respiration is a fast process and it produces less energy as compared to aerobic respiration. So the number of, here you can see this here, so number of ATP molecules formed in anaerobic respiration is 2 ATP, only 2, whereas aerobic respiration it was 36 ATP. In anaerobic it is 2 ATP. And one more thing, we have seen aerobic respiration it takes place in the mitochondria, whereas anaerobic respiration it takes place in the cytoplasm, only in the cytoplasm. Okay, anaerobic respiration it takes place only in the cytoplasm. And the examples are unicellular organisms or prokaryotes or unicellular organisms. So just remember that anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen, which means is it doesn't need any oxygen to for the reaction to occur. Okay, no oxygen is required. Earlier we have seen oxygen, it takes place in the presence of oxygen. That's why this oxygen is there. No, presence of oxygen. That's why this oxygen is there. But now it takes place in the absence of oxygen. Therefore, you can see here no oxygen. There is no oxygen. It doesn't react with any oxygen. Right. So glucose it doesn't react with any oxygen. It directly breaks down. It doesn't react with any oxygen. Because in anaerobic respiration no oxygen is required. Okay, what to say? The number of energy ATP molecules formed is 2 ATP. 2 ATP molecules are formed. Okay, and it takes place in the cytoplasm. Fine. The main reaction it takes place is that what happens? This you can just write it down for your own this one. Not like you must remember each and everything of this. So this glucose C6H12O6 glucose it is divided broken down into pyruvic acid and then ethyl alcohol. This is ethyl alcohol C2H5OH. This is ethyl alcohol and then carbon dioxide it is given out and then energy is formed. Okay, energy is formed. In the case of yeast it is a unicellular organism. So in
Ma'am,
that's why we are
your
giving this.
internet is not.
Oh, I guess your internet is an issue. I am not hearing you properly. Others, can you hear me? Everyone, please
Yes.
respond. Yes. I guess this guy, your internet, you have a problem. I don't have any internet issues for now. Okay. So in yeast, we are taking yeast as an example because yeast is an unicellular organism. Okay. So yeast, what happens? In unicellular organism, what happens? This glucose will be broken down into pyruvic acid, then ethyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, then it will give energy, that is 2 ATP. Okay, this is the main step. In aerobic respiration, this was the initial step, this was the step, and in anaerobic respiration, this is the step. Okay, but now we'll come to some exceptions. There are some exceptions. I have mentioned right that in aerobic respiration, it takes place in multicellular organisms. For example, humans. So in human beings, aerobic respiration takes place. But there are some exceptions. Exceptions are, you can see here, in muscles and RBC. What is RBC? What is RBC?
red blood
Red blood
cell.
cells. Yes. So RBC
Plus.
means red blood cells. And in muscles, muscles means not always, okay. There means in everywhere in your body, aerobic respiration only takes place. Okay, aerobic respiration takes place because we are multicellular organisms. But there are two exceptions. One is in muscles and one is in RBC, that is red blood cells. Red blood cells we'll learn later, but first look at muscles. What happens in the case of muscles is that, and in muscles means in the case of excessive stress. So you cannot write direct muscles. In bracket, you have to write uh, only during excessive stress. So, in the muscles during excessive stress means excessive exercise, or like when you run for, let me give you an example. For example, for guys, when you like go to the gym for the like first time, you go to the gym, you hit the gym for the first time, or for say for everyone, if I can say, like if you run for like a kilometer or like that, or if you keep standing for some time, you tend to get some ache in your body, right? You tend to get some pain. So what happened? What do you, why do you think that pain you get? It's not like you're suffering from some disease or something. So why does that pain occur in our body? Because during, it just take running as an example, okay? During running, do your breath becomes fast normally? At what pace do you breathe, and on compare it with the speed of your breathing during running, it will become fast, right? Why? Because your body needs more oxygen. More oxygen means more energy, because earlier you have seen, right, oxygen. So when you run fast, and you use up all the energy that is already formed in your body. Okay, when you run fast, this is very important, okay, listen carefully. So when you run fast, you use up all the more energy is required in our body. Okay, so you use all the energy that is formed, that is already stored, and you need more energy. More energy, that's why you breathe fast, that so that you can get more oxygen. Okay, more oxygen means more energy, because in our body aerobic respiration takes place, right? But there comes a point when that and oxygen also is not enough to form energy. You can speed up your breath to a particular extent, no. So what happens, you breathe fast, then you get more oxygen, then that amount of oxygen is also not required, not enough. You need more energy than that also. So when you need more energy than than the oxygen you can provide, the uh, body, what happens, it transfers itself from aerobic to anaerobic respiration, because anaerobic respiration doesn't require any what oxygen. Since anaerobic respiration doesn't require any oxygen, it can take place without the presence of oxygen. So you will not need any more oxygen. So when your body is when means the supply of oxygen is like, you can't supply more oxygen, and oxygen supply is already used up, then what happens, it transfers itself into anaerobic respiration, because in anaerobic respiration oxygen is not required. And when anaerobic respiration takes place, here you can see in muscles, when anaerobic respiration takes place, this glucose will be converted into pyruvic acid and then lactic acid. Okay, and then energy. And the pain that I am talking about, the pain that you get is because of this lactic acid formed. Okay, and that is the reason why the pain doesn't last for a long period of time, because lactic acid, it forms, then it get means you get the pain, then slowly it means it disappears. Okay, that's why don't get the pain for like a month or so, like that. You just get the pain for some time. So did you get me? What happens in your muscles during excessive stress, during excessive exercise? Since the body cannot supply the sufficient amount of oxygen, therefore it opts to respire anaerobically. Okay, the muscle cells. So the muscle cells generally in normal conditions. Now you're sitting, listening to my lecture. So now at present your muscle cells are respiring aerobically. In your muscle cells aerobic respiration is taking place, but when you run for like a longer period of time, when you run or you do some hard work, you like do some lift up and heavy objects and things like that. So when you do some hard work, when you are under stress, stress means not mental stress, it is physical stress. So when you are under stress, uh, your body, it in the muscle cells will opt for anaerobic respiration. Okay, so in stress, anaerobic respiration takes place, and in anaerobic respiration, glucose, it will form lactic acid. When glucose will break down, it will form lactic acid and energy. So lactic acid, this lactic acid is the cause of the pain that occurs in your body. Okay, it is clear. Okay, next there first normally in the muscle cells, since muscles, it is found in the multicellular organisms, right? So normally in normal case, normal how you studied, in muscle cells aerobic respiration should have taken place, but in muscle cells during excessive stress, when the body cannot supply the sufficient amount of oxygen, then only it opts for anaerobic respiration. But in normal conditions, it takes means it in muscle cells aerobic respiration takes place, but under excessive stress anaerobic respiration takes place. Okay, so if you include these muscles in the example of anaerobic respiration, you have to write in muscles and in bracket. Yeah, not only in the muscles, in the bracket you have to mention in muscles, and bracket you have to mention in the case of excessive stress. Okay, let me write it down for you. Let me write it down so that you won't confuse. Feeling sleepy? Hmm? Okay, you have to write in muscles in the case of excessive stress. Okay, the muscles is done. Then comes RBC, in red blood cells. So what happens in red blood cells? Why do you think in red blood cells always? Okay, in red blood cells normally, since red blood cells are found in human beings in the blood, not only in the human beings, in every organism, right? Every means living animals, right? So normally according to what we learned in RBC also, aerobic respiration should have taken place. But why in RBC aerobic respiration doesn't take place? Why do you think in RBC anaerobic respiration takes place? Hmm? Because we have seen in so where do aerobic respiration occur? Aerobic respiration occurs in the mitochondria, right? Aerobic respiration occurs in the mitochondria, and aerobic respiration occurs in the cytoplasm. So in the case of RBC, mitochondria is not present, mitochondria is absent. In red blood cells, mitochondria is absent. Okay, mitochondria is not present in red blood cells. Since mitochondria is not present in red blood cells, how will aerobic respiration take place? Is a common thing, no? Since mitochondria is only not present, and aerobic respiration only takes place in the mitochondria, and since mitochondria is only not present, that's why aerobic respiration has no other choice than to show anaerobic respiration. Okay, anaerobic respiration will take place in the cytoplasm. Okay, these are the two exceptions. So examples of anaerobic respiration, those are unicellular organisms, and you can write in muscles, in excessive stress, and RBC. Okay, examples. Unicellular organisms. Can you give me some examples of unicellular organisms? One is yeast. Okay, one is yeast. Then what else? Single cell organism. Amoeba, bacteria, paramecians. All those are unicellular organisms. You can include all those in examples, and then this muscle. These are the exceptions. These two cases are the exceptions. Okay. So, did you understand?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, I will give you homework. Okay. You can not assignment. You just take it as a homework because that the question that I'm gonna give you is very important. Okay. That if you happen to have your exams offline, then you just uh, assume that this is a must. Means this question will come for sure. Okay. And that is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. What is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Make sure you write the differences in columns. Okay, columns you all know. Like one side you write aerobic respiration, one side you write anaerobic respiration. You just put a line in between, then write point wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, point wise. Don't look from the internet and stuff like that. Write from whatever that I taught today in the class. And if you want to check with me, you can send me through message, not in the group. Okay, through message. You can send me.
When we will submit?
Uh, I'm not giving you a like date to submit. This is not an assignment for now. For now, I'm just asking you to write because you will need that question. So one question, and if you want to means ask me, like, if you want my opinion in your answer, that the answer you have written, if you want my opinion, then you can means give me screenshots and like that. Or if you don't want my opinion, no need of submission. But you just make sure you write it down. Okay. Well,
Okay.
before before means next class. Next class I have Tuesday, Thursday or Friday, no, Wednesday or Thursday I have next class. So before next class, you just write this down. Okay. So what was the differences? Okay, okay. I have only 5 minutes more.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, can I know when will our test will start?
offline. Offline classes.
No, miss. Test classes and offline classes and all.
Offline classes, I'm not sure. Class test means there are sessional tests, no, sessional exams. No, sessional exams will be
Yes,
like
yes.
you'll have like 2 or 3 sessional exams. It will be like next month, then like that. I'm not sure about that. Okay, for now. But offline classes,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. Offline classes, I don't know this
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
situation. No? Okay. So those two guys, one boy, I took the numbers. No, you just make sure you what to say, I'll add you both. Make sure you add the other friends, everyone.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then for from next class onwards, no, please try to join the class within like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, I will just
Okay,
wait
ma'am.
for, if for example if
Okay, ma'am.
class starts at 10, I'll just wait for 10:10. Or if class starts at 9, I'll just wait for 9:10. After 9:10, I will allow no one to enter the class. Okay, I will just lock
Okay.
the class. So make sure you uh, join the class at the appropriate time.
Okay, ma'am.
And
Ma'am.
since it this default, like it only, this meeting only lasts for like 45 minutes, it will end automatically. Okay, so if there is any doubts, only like 2 minutes left, that's why. So if there are any doubts, you just go through the portion that I have taught today. If there are any doubts, you can ask me, okay, next class, first of all.
Okay, ma'am.
And second thing is that you just make sure you write the differences, and you can show me if you want, through message,
Okay.
not in the groups. Okay, you
Okay.
can text me personally and show me. I'll give my
Okay.
opinion on that. Okay, but there is not a hard and
Okay.
fast rule that you have to show me. No, no, this is not an assignment. For now, this is not an assignment. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you, thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.